On Christmas Eve, my boyfriend left late at night to see his first love. He used the excuse that his uncle urgently needed him. I put on something risk and headed straight to his uncle's house. Since he dared to betray me, I might as well take on the role of his aunt. On Christmas Eve, I wore a special Christmas outfit I had ready for my boyfriend, but there he was, glued to his phone, his eyes fixed on the screen. Curious, I leaned closer and saw the screen. My heart that had been so eager suddenly sank. Daisy, the power just went out. I'm so scared. Followed by a sad emoji. Henry was smiling, typing away. Maybe there's an issue with the wiring. Don't worry, I'll come over. I was just about to call him out. Henry got up from his chair, still looking at his phone. Simon said he needs me for something urgent, so I have to step out for a bit. Simon, I smirked. It's Christmas Eve, and it's late. Could it be you're off to see some girl? Henry lashed out, angry. Lily, when did you become so suspicious? Using anger to hide his guilt, the typical male tactic. His cheating, yet calls me paranoid. Ridiculous. Simon said there's an issue with a project at work. It's urgent, he stammered, grabbing his coat and heading out. Watching him leave, I crossed my arms, smirking. Using Simon as a shield, he sure is clever. He's probably off to see that girl, I thought. Why not have Simon keep me company? I slipped into my carefully chosen Christmas-themed lingerie. I'm usually conservative about this stuff, nothing too wild. I wanted to mix things up tonight, change his image of me, but since he doesn't appreciate it, I might as well share this with someone else. With nothing on but a long down coat over my outfit, I headed to Simon's place. Simon is Henry's uncle, quite young, just 4 years older than me. Outside his door, I got cold feet. Simon and I aren't close enough for me to just drop by. Suddenly showing up felt awkward, but thinking about Henry having fun with his first love made my blood boil. Hand poised to knock, then hesitating, I paced at the doorway. Lily, why are you here? Simon's voice came from behind me. I turned, seeing Simon coming from the elevator. Handsome, gentlemanly, composed, unlike Henry. The air around him was chilly. I shivered. After all, under my coat, I had barely anything on. It's cold outside, come in. Simon opened the door, his eyes behind his glasses filled with warmth. Remembering Henry yelling at me just hours ago made my resolve firm as I walked inside. Simon's place wasn't the sleek, luxury space I anticipated. It was simple and tidy, much like him. The room carried a subtle scent, like snowflakes, calming and refreshing. But sitting on the couch, I felt restless. Simon peeled off his coat, loosened his tie, and unbuttoned his shirt, making my heart skip. Take off the coat, he said, pouring tea with such grace. Take off? Is it going to be that straightforward? Sweat beaded on my forehead. Did he know why I was here? I meant, the floor heating here is pretty strong. Aren't you hot in that thick coat? Simon handed me water. Oh, that's what he meant. No, I'm fine. I awkwardly laughed, taking the cup feeling embarrassed and regretful. I had gone over this. Seduce Simon, make Henry as green as a Christmas tree. But seeing Simon in person, I chickened out, feeling as harmless as a rabbit. Why are you here? Simon finally asked. No reason. Henry said you needed him for something, so I thought I'd check in. Simon adjusted his glasses without responding. The silence spoke volumes. Despite the nervous pause, I couldn't stand still. The carpet here was soft and warm underfoot. The heating was indeed powerful, making my long coat a bit much. I glanced at Simon and used a moment of distraction to unzip my coat, just a tad to breathe. Simon seemed unaware of my little move. Then his phone dinged. He checked it and suddenly looked at me, frowning. I was puzzled as Simon pulled me to the dining table, firmly pushing me under it and securing the tablecloth to hide me. He sat above, completely shielding me. The movement was seamless. Does Simon want to play some game with me? Before I could sort it out, a beeping door lock opened. Someone was here. Simon, Merry Christmas. That voice, it was Henry. Why wasn't he with scared Daisy? Why visit Simon? Simon, do me a favor. If Lily asks, say you needed me for something urgent tonight. Don't let it slip. Heading back to see your little schoolmate, huh? Simon's voice was as calm as ever, but he started gently ruffling my hair under the table. What Simon just said clearly means he knew my boyfriend was cheating and was covering for him. So why was he patting my head? Henry, sounding all self-righteous, chimed in. Daisy is fun and understands men. When she acts all cute, my heart melts. Simon, as a guy, you should understand where I'm coming from. What about Lily? If you found true love, why not break up with her? Simon asked, all nonchalant. Henry got a bit conflicted. Lily's great. Look, I know this sounds terrible, but for marriage, she's the better fit. I'll break up with Daisy once I'm ready to propose to Lily. Hearing this, I almost laughed out of anger. What does he take me for? I was hesitant initially, but now I'm determined to become his aunt, literally. As the thought crossed my mind, my hand gripped onto Simon's pant leg. Simon seemed to read my mind and let his hand wander gently, teasing the sensitive spot behind my ear. Was Simon not worried Henry would catch us? The ticklish sensation sent shivers down my spine, and I covered my mouth to prevent any noise from escaping. This risky feeling was oddly thrilling. Out in the open, it seemed like just an uncle and his nephew, but under the table was me, acting like the other woman, flirting with someone at the table. Simon continued to fuel the fire, smiling slyly. I'm having a birthday thing at the Royal Hotel in a few days. Only close friends. Who are you planning to bring along? Henry's voice boomed above. For your birthday, definitely taking Daisy. It's too good an opportunity to miss. What a jerk. If what I'm doing now wasn't so awkward, I'd jump up and smack him. Under the table, Simon, unhappy with me covering my mouth, pried my fingers apart and touched my lips, teasingly pinching them. So unlike his usual stern self, how could he manage to be so proper above the table, and so wild beneath it? The touch gave my lips a magical spark, sending an electrifying warmth through me. This can't continue. I grabbed his restless hand and pulled away. Suddenly, my head connected with the table edge with a loud thump. Reacting instinctively, I almost exclaimed in pain, but caught myself halfway, holding my head with one hand and clamping my mouth shut with the other. My heart was pounding, hair standing on end. If Henry found me under there, how would I explain myself? What was that noise? Something under the table, Henry asked, bending to take a look. You heard wrong, Simon said, not leaving room for argument. Then he casually draped his jacket over his lap, slid his chair, and effectively trapped me between his legs. My head nestled between his thighs. I couldn't help but wonder, did he really need to hide me this way? That masculine scent filled my nose, making my face flush. I get it, Simon, don't spill the beans. I'm out. Daisy's waiting outside, Henry said, oblivious, and walked out. Feeling relieved, I crawled out from under the table. Simon, why'd you stash me under there? I asked, a hint of irritation in my voice. Simon didn't answer, just stared intently at my neckline. I looked down and wished I could disappear. When did my zipper come undone? It must have slipped when I crouched down earlier. I quickly turned away and clutched my collar shut. Were you always dressed like that? Simon asked teasingly. My face went beet red, embarrassed enough to want to vanish. I reminded myself, I was there to confront Henry, not chicken out. Tonight, I was set on making my move on Henry. Stealing my nerves, I turned to Simon and almost whispered, tonight, can I stay with you? Simon paused, the side of his face twitching as if biting his cheek. After a long silence, he chuckled softly, you're still with Henry. With a jerk like him, I shot back. Fine, I'll give you a lift, he sighed, breaking the tension. Guess I was overreaching. I forced a smile, trying to hide my disappointment. No need. I'll just catch a cab. I reluctantly turned to leave. My hand just touched the door handle when my wrist was gently grabbed. Without resistance, I fell into a strong embrace. He gazed down at me. Does a shower come before bed? Feeling the heat from his body, I felt alive, set ablaze. I already showered before coming here, I said. Before I finished, he lifted me up and placed me softly on the bed. Why do I feel like a lamb in a lion's den? He lay beside me, unhurriedly tugging at my jacket zipper. It felt like forever. I thought it was stuck. Could we just, skip to the good part? Finally free of my jacket, Simon straddled me, looking down with an unexpected intensity. Didn't know you had this side, he remarked, his fingers already exploring my minimal outfit. No way, this wasn't gonna be one-sided. Why was he all buttoned up while I felt exposed? With a rush of boldness, I tugged at his collar, unbuttoning his shirt. You in a rush? He chuckled, holding himself above me, letting me have my way. His words made me blush even harder. My breath quickened, hands moving faster. I got this, he assured, sitting up and slowly removing his shirt and belt. His muscles were intoxicating. Just the sight was enough to overwhelm me. He gently cupped my face, his other hand tracing from my thigh up, sparking a tremor. Finally, he pulled me in close, lips hovering near mine, noses almost touching. In a husky voice, he murmured, Lily, could you take off my glasses for me? The warm breath escaping my lips lingered around my face. It got hard to breathe, my mind was hazy, and my heart thumped wildly. There was this energy inside me, like it was ready to burst out. I obediently reached out and removed his glasses. As soon as I succeeded, his lips met mine in a gentle yet intense kiss. I don't know how to describe it. It felt both wonderful and dreamlike, leaving me totally disoriented. I've only ever dated Henry. I didn't realize kisses could be so different. Somehow, my shameful outfit came off, and our bodies pressed close, sharing warmth. Soon, we got down to business. I never expected Simon, who seemed so upright and refined, to be like a ravenous wolf in bed. When we were done, I lay on the bed, unable to even turn over. The bed was a mess, sheets crumpled, the blanket who knows where. A pillow was under my stomach, but I couldn't be bothered to move it. Exhausted and satisfied, I just fell asleep on that messy bed. When I woke up, it was bright outside. The gentle sunlight felt so warm. Beside me, he breathed steadily, sleeping soundly. I got up to get dressed. My legs felt weak, and my lower back was sore. My humiliation outfit was ruined, so I pulled out one of Simon's shirts from the closet. It was loose, just enough to cover my thighs. The noise I made woke him up. Simon rubbed his brow, propping himself up on one arm. Want to sleep a bit more? I picked my down jacket off the floor. Nah. It's hard to explain if I'm back too late. Just as I finished speaking, Simon jumped up and pinned me against the wall. He pressed his body against mine, hands flat on the wall, eyes dangerous. What do you take me for? That caught me off guard. As I was pondering, Simon suddenly lowered his head, biting my neck. Startled, I quickly dodged and pushed him away. No way, leaving a mark there would be too noticeable. He kept his head to the side and wasn't mad. Instead, he unbuttoned my shirt with his right hand. Not again. I can't handle another round. I crossed my arms over my chest, shielding the collar. You started this. You owe me. Simon growled, prying my hands apart, and left a visible red mark on my chest. He lifted his hand, rubbing the noticeable red spot. You better sort out your affairs before this fades, or else. He leaned in, his forehead touching mine, whispering threats with a tender voice. I don't mind helping you. Those last two words, he emphasized as if he was grinding them out between clenched teeth. I hadn't been home long when Henry came in, looking worn out. Seeing me curled up on the couch, maybe he thought I stayed up waiting for him and felt guilty. Sorry babe. The project got tricky last night. Simon and I worked through the night to fix it. Looking at him all disheveled, he probably had a rougher night than me. I couldn't help but laugh. Actually, I was with Simon all night. So which Simon were you up all night with? After saying that, I couldn't contain my pleased sense of revenge. Henry visibly froze, looking a bit awkward before brushing it off. Stop messing around. I was really with Simon for work. I didn't mean to neglect you. See, I'm not lying to Henry. I even told him the truth. He just doesn't believe it. Henry moved closer, trying to hug me. I wrinkled my nose and pushed him away. He reeked of smoke, but beneath that was a strong scent of green tea perfume. Probably used the smoke to mask the perfume, so I wouldn't notice. Realizing this, I reached towards the mark hidden under my shirt. Henry noticed this and eyed the men's shirt I was wearing. Babe, this shirt. This is Simon's shirt, I admitted, still mad about that. Henry went to say more, but his phone rang. He took the call in the bathroom. I quietly followed him. Henry lowered his voice, speaking softly. There was an emergency at work. I'll make it up to you soon, okay? I couldn't hear what was being said on the other end, but he kept soothingly talking. All my anger just sat in my chest, and any thought of breaking up vanished. If I ended it now, wouldn't that be too easy for him? It'd just give Henry a chance to smoothly transition with Daisy, all lovey-dovey. Seems like I need a bit of a plan. Henry changed and left for work. I rubbed my sore back, and was about to make some breakfast, when the doorbell rang. I opened the door, and the delivery guy handed me several big bags. Your delivery. My delivery. I looked at the receipt in confusion. The name and address checked out, but I didn't order anything. I closed the door, curiosity getting the better of me as I opened the bags. No need to guess who sent these. I did say I couldn't do another round this morning, so Simon set me up with a care package. My phone suddenly buzzed. It was an unknown number. I answered it. Did you get the food? Turned out it was Simon. When did you get my number? I retraced last night's events. We didn't exchange numbers. I've had it for a while. Simon casually replied. Eat up and rest well. Last night was hard on you. What is he saying? I hung up, blushing. After breakfast, I saved his number in my contacts. That night, I got into bed early, ready to sleep. Just as I was about to drift off, a hand slipped under my pajama top. This large, sturdy hand used to make me feel secure and safe. But now, knowing it was all over another woman last night, made me uncomfortable. I turned over, brushing his hand away. I'm on my period. He immediately rubbed my tummy, apologizing. Sorry babe, you relax. I'll make you some brown sugar water. He's always been so thoughtful and caring. I remember the first time I messed up my cycle and stained my pants. He brought clothes to help me out, which is why I thought he was trustworthy and gave into his pursuit. But now, stripping away that filter. All I can think about is how he might be making ginger tea, and rubbing someone's belly for other women too. Henry quickly brought in the ginger tea. Before he could hand it to me, his phone rang again. He looked at it, got all tense, made a gesture that he'd take the call outside, and rushed out of the bedroom. I used to think he was genuinely busy with work, always needing to take calls and reply to messages. Turns out, the signs of him cheating were there all along. It's just phone calls, right? Who doesn't make them? I called Simon, not knowing what to say, so I casually asked, "Are you awake?" He immediately asked, "Did you break up?" I stared at the bedroom door. Breaking up isn't something you just say. It needs the right time and place. He took a deep breath and said, "My birthday's the day after tomorrow, you should come." Didn't Henry say he'd bring that daisy of his? I remembered hearing that under the table last time. Silence filled the line for a few seconds, and suddenly everything clicked for me. Wasn't Simon offering me the perfect chance to catch Henry in the act and break it off? "Sure," I replied decisively. No sooner had I hung up than Henry walked back in. "Where are you going? Who were you talking to?" he asked. I ended the call and countered, "And you? Who were you talking to?" He looked flustered. Just Simon. We were discussing some work stuff." I felt amused, touching my phone. Is Simon a magician or something? Seems like he's everywhere. Funny thing is, I just spoke to Simon myself. On the day of Simon's birthday, I went straight to the place. When I got there, a big group filled the private room. Henry was cozily chatting and laughing with his daisy. When he saw me, a guy next to him nudged him, pulling him out of his sweet moment. "Lily, what are you doing here?" Henry's expression was priceless, like he'd seen a ghost. I put on my best performance, pretending not to have seen anything, and walked over to him. "You didn't tell me about Simon's birthday. Didn't even get a chance to buy a gift." A sharp look was cast my way. Next to Henry sat a shy-looking girl, throwing dagger-like looks at me. So, this was Henry's daisy. She was all right looking, just seemed all timid and weak. I couldn't help but glance at Simon, who happened to meet my gaze with a look of complex emotions. I quickly looked away. I didn't plan to sit so close to Simon, but a pretty sharp guy kindly moved a chair for me. Now, Henry was on my left, Simon on my right. Clearly, Henry hadn't made his fling with Daisy official yet. Amid the intense stares from both sides, I sat down lightly and felt Henry tense up beside me. The satisfaction was immense. The room was packed, and soon the little incident faded as the lively atmosphere picked up again. The guy who helped with the chair asked, "Lily, what first drew you to Henry? Teach us your ways." Prompted by the teasing, I began, "Because of a suit jacket." As I spoke, memories flooded back to that afternoon. Fresh out of college, I was hopping between job interviews. On my way into an office building, a girl handed me a suit jacket, pointing out that I had a stain on the back of my pants. She said a guy asked her to give it to me. I laughed softly, continuing. She pointed, saying it was a man behind her. I looked over and there was Henry. Everything just followed naturally after that. The group erupted with whoops and cheers, praising how thoughtful Henry was. Little did they know, during my story, the supposedly sweet and innocent girl was making all sorts of moves at Henry under the table. I pretended not to notice, because, on my thigh, there was a growing warmth. It was Simon. Outwardly, he chatted away with everyone, but under the table, his hand was on my leg. The mix of nervousness and ticklishness made me uneasy, my whole body tense. I gave Simon repeated looks to stop, but he seemed oblivious, persisting with his bold actions under the table. Afraid Henry would notice, I shifted closer to the table and reached to push Simon's hand away. The moment I touched it, he caught my hand, running his thumb gently across my palm, sending tingles through me. I maintained a calm front, trying to shake his hand off with force. Perhaps my movements were too big, because Henry noticed and asked, "What's wrong? Are you feeling uncomfortable?" My heart skipped a beat. I wriggled my fingers, signaling Simon to let go of my hand. He acted like he didn't care, and held on even tighter. Realizing I couldn't break free, I surrendered and sweetly asked Henry, "Sweetheart, can I have some of that roasted pigeon?" Henry glanced briefly at Daisy before reluctantly placing some pigeon on my plate. From the other side, Daisy's lips pouted, her eyes tearing up like she might cry any second. This made things even more amusing for me. Unfortunately, my hand was now at Simon's mercy. I looked at him. "If you're holding my hand, how am I supposed to eat?" I challenged back, looking at the pigeon in my bowl and giving Daisy a provocative glance. "Can you feed me, sweetheart?" I asked Henry. I felt Henry's leg twitch, probably with Daisy kicking him under the table. Simon reluctantly let go. Henry, looking rather upset, fed me the pigeon. Enjoying Daisy's murderous glare, I thought the pigeon tasted even better. I chewed slowly, boasting, "It's delicious." Daisy couldn't take it anymore and stormed out. Henry's phone wouldn't stop ringing afterward, but maybe because I was there, he didn't dare check his messages, though I doubt he could last 3 minutes. Sure enough, after a little while, Henry nudged me and whispered, "I need to use the bathroom." Before I could respond, he hurried off. I thought about following him, but Simon stopped me with a look, signaling that the time wasn't right. As the dinner was wrapping up, Henry and Daisy came in, one after the other. Henry sat beside me, seeming unchanged. If it weren't for the perfume on him and Daisy's red eyes, I wouldn't have guessed he went to comfort his side chick. After the event, since everyone had been drinking, most people got hotel rooms to stay over. Henry took me upstairs to a room. There was wine and candles on the table, LED star lights on the curtains, and red rose petals scattered on the bed. Could this be what Henry prepared for Daisy? But now I get the benefit. Henry looked serious as he pulled me to sit down. "Lily, if it weren't for that coat, would you still love me?" "No," I replied, looking him in the eye with sincerity. He frowned, seemingly lost in thought. I eyed the romantic setup and teased, "Honey, you didn't know I'd be here today. You set all this up to impress some girl." Henry panicked, avoiding my eyes. "I don't know, the hotel arranged it all." Then he tried to embrace me. "Since it's all so romantic, why don't we?" I was just disgusted. Maybe it didn't matter who was here tonight, he'd act the same. I pushed him away. "I'm too tired today, let's just sleep." Unhappily, he lay on the bed, grumbling, "It's always like this." As we lay there, he turned his back to me, eyes glued to his phone, tapping away noisily. I lay still, pretending to sleep. After some time, he gently poked me, whispering, "Lily, are you asleep?" I didn't respond, continuing the act. Soon, he slipped out, through the peephole. I watched him enter the room across the hall. Quickly, I got dressed, ready to follow. But just as I opened the door, I got pulled into another room by a big hand. With the door shut with a bang, Simon had me cornered. I didn't let up, sliding my hand into his robe, tracing his muscles. Simon caught my wandering hand. "Actually, I have something to tell you." But before he could finish, laughter came from next door. It was my so-called good boyfriend and Daisy. I looked at Simon. "Did you set this up?" "So what if I did? Flies don't go for an egg without cracks." His honesty left me speechless. From next door, the noises got more intense. The bed thumped against the wall, mixed with shouts and moans. They seemed really into it. I changed my mind. I wrapped my arms around Simon's neck, pulled him down beneath me. "Maybe we should outdo them." Simon squeezed my waist. "The walls are thin here. What if Henry hears?" I smirked. "He won't. We're not always in sync." "Then why not dump him and be with me?" Simon threatened to push me off him. I quickly clung onto him tightly. "Or is it that I wore you out last time, and you're not up to it?" The sounds got louder next door. I guess he picked up on my tactic immediately. Our eyes locked, his gaze clear and bright, and I felt butterflies for the first time. I leaned in to kiss him, but he dodged, then lifted me up, tossed me outside the door of those two cheating, and slipped back into his room. Failed to seduce Simon, I had no choice but to confront them. Listening to the mess in there, I prepared myself and knocked on the door. "Who is it? Don't ruin my fun." Henry's voice angrily yelled from inside. I ignored it and kept knocking. With a curse, footsteps approached the door. Henry opened it and faced me, eyes full of fear. Time seemed to freeze. We just stood there, staring. Daisy broke the silence. "Henry, who is it?" "Shut up." Henry turned and yelled at Daisy before grabbing my arms. "Lily, let me explain." "It's not." I put on a hurt expression, my eyes red. "What isn't true?" "Middle of the night, covered in lipstick marks, walking out of another woman's room. What else could this be? You left me alone in a room to sneak off with another woman, and these rooms are so close. Was it that urgent?" I heard everything pretty clearly out there. I accused him loudly enough for all the neighboring rooms to hear. As my voice echoed, doors nearby started opening one after another. "No, it's not like that," Henry stammered, but his face was red, unable to explain. I looked around, satisfied with the audience. With so many present, Henry was bound to become the talk of the town by tomorrow. I silently patted myself on the back for the good performance, and wondered what more I could say when I caught sight of Simon in the crowd, a smug smile on his face. Turning back to Henry, I acted devastated. "Since you two are already this far, I'll step aside. Let's break up. I hope you're happy." Henry's expression changed completely, his grip tightening, almost pleading. "It's not what you think. I just made a mistake. I promise it won't happen again. Can you forgive me this once? You're the one I love most. Please don't leave me." As soon as he finished, Daisy, only wrapped in a towel, joined at the door. "What did you say?" "You just told me you love me the most and that Lily's just a fling." Now it couldn't be more obvious. Henry's true self was exposed. The crowd murmured, and I feared things getting out of hand. So I quickly detached his hands and backed away. That's it. From now on, we have no ties, I declared, walking away briskly. Behind me, Henry was being entangled by Daisy for an explanation, while others held him accountable, preventing him from following. I left the hotel, struggling to hail a cab with my phone in hand, when a car rolled up beside me. The window rolled down, revealing a familiar face. Simon tapped the passenger seat. Get in. It sure is tough to grab a cab in the middle of the night, but I'm not being picky. I just pulled open the car door and got in. Ever since I got in, Simon's been smiling non-stop. Congrats, finally broke up, huh? I just shrugged. So what? Don't tell me you didn't want to break up and still plan on marrying him. Why not get married and keep having an affair with you? That's pretty thrilling. Simon slammed on the brakes, causing me to jolt forward, but the seatbelt saved me. He looked serious, staring at me. Lily, I'm talking about something serious here. I'm serious too, I replied, expressing my concerns. You're Henry's uncle after all. I don't want to affect your relationship with him because of me. He just chuckled. Do you think I care that much about that brat? If you don't want to see him, I can send him abroad. Make sure he doesn't show up in front of you. His allowance comes from me and he works at my company. You think I'd be scared of him? That easy, huh? But Simon and I aren't kids anymore. If we're gonna take this further, I need to think it over. We both stayed silent in the car until it parked outside Simon's place. I froze. Didn't I say I booked a hotel room? Without a word, he got out, scooped me up from the car and said, why are you shy? It's not like you haven't been here before. This time, he tossed me onto the bed, pinning my wrists above my head with one hand while undoing my coat's belt with the other. What are you doing? Unwrapping a birthday gift. I'm not your gift. The next morning, I rubbed my sore back and struggled to sit up in bed, fishing for my phone from under the pillow. Over 100 missed calls and 999 texts from Henry. Wasn't he the one who kept saying Daisy was his dream girl? Why is he suddenly so attached to me? Simon snatched my phone, scrolled through, and swiftly blocked all of Henry's contacts. I wasn't bothered. I started getting dressed. Where you heading? Simon pulled me back. I picked my bra off the floor. To my ex's. Gotta pack my stuff. He hugged my waist and said, buy new stuff. Don't go. I whined, but I have so many important things there. After arguing for a bit, Simon finally agreed to go with me, promising he wouldn't start anything. I reluctantly agreed to have him tag along. At the house I once knew so well, Simon stayed quietly in the hallway as I found my key to open the door. The cigarette smoke nearly choked me out. I covered my nose seeing Henry slumped on the couch, red eyes, dark circles, and messy hair. He looked worn out. I felt a twinge of guilt seeing him like that, but it didn't take long to remind myself, we got to this point because of his actions. If he hadn't cheated, I wouldn't have sought revenge. I'm just getting even. Lily, I knew it. You still care about me. You wouldn't leave, he said, trying to hug me all excited. I dodged, looking disgusted. I'm just here to pack my stuff. Then, I headed to the bedroom and started sorting my belongings into a suitcase. Henry kept pestering me. I know you're conservative, and I respected that, but I'm a normal man with needs. It was just a fling, no emotions involved. I've cut it off with Daisy. I swear, I'll behave. Just give me another chance. Lily, haven't I been good to you? I can't believe you'd just dump me like that. I scoffed. And, you knew I was conservative from the start. If you couldn't accept it, you shouldn't have dated me. I glared at him with disdain. You cheated in the worst way possible. Henry lunged at me furiously, trying to tear my clothes. You're mine. I won't let you leave. I flung his hands off and stood up. Sorry, I'm no longer yours. I'm your auntie now. What? Henry was stunned. Just then, Simon walked in. Yep, she's your aunt now. Ignoring Henry's shock, Simon glanced at my suitcase. Done packing. I nodded. Henry looked at us, mortified. He staggered up, pointing incredulously. You too. Henry almost screamed. You're my uncle. Weren't there other women out there? Why'd you take mine? Simon replied coldly. Who's taking from whom here? You promised to keep the secret. Henry's eyes reddened. But you let her go. Henry stared at Simon, enraged but silent. I finished packing and left with Simon. Lost in thought, I stayed quiet from the door to the car, feeling heartbroken. Wanna cry about it? Simon teased. I turned to look at Simon's bruises and apologized. Sorry, it's all because of me. He parked on the roadside, patted my head. You're more important than all that. His heartfelt words made my heart skip a beat. As he restarted the car, Simon said, there's something I should tell you. I already know. I interrupted. He looked surprised. You know. I nodded. Did you set up Daisy? No way. He shook his head, I want you to be happy more than anyone. It's about something else. I cut him off again. Was it you who had the little girl give me that suit jacket? Seeing the shock in his eyes, I continued. I heard what you guys were saying earlier about stealing. I put it together. I touched his jacket. I should have realized it. With Henry's style and size, it couldn't have been his. Simon loves suits, and Henry is all about sportswear. I should have seen it coming. I taught at that school. Simon admitted. You taught at our school too. Now I was the surprised one. I taught a year before I started my business. He switched topics. So, what's your plan now? Stay at a hotel for a few days, then find a place, I said. Simon seemed thoughtful. My place is a bit small. It worked for just me, but now with you, we need something bigger. Let's go to West Side and pick a house. As he turned the car around, I quickly explained, that's not what I meant. Simon grinned. Not what? You think my place is fine, and doesn't need upgrading. Do you even know what I'm saying? I was getting frustrated. We're not kids anymore. We can't just waste time. He thought for a moment, then nodded. Got it. Let's get married. You've got your ID in your suitcase, right? Not. I paused. Forget it. Clearing my throat, I tried to ask playfully. Can you repeat your earlier question? Simon played along. What's your plan now? Go to your place. What a coincidence. I've been missing a lady of the house.